Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're talking about something super important: how you take one of these incredibly powerful AIs and actually turn it into a specialist that can do a real world job. The best way to think about it is like this. Imagine you just hired a genius apprentice. I mean, this person has read the entire internet, but they know absolutely nothing about your specific company. So, how do you train them? That's what we're going to break down, and we'll start with the biggest challenge you'll hit right out of the gate.
So you've probably run into this, right? You've got a tool like ChatGPT. It's amazing. But the second you ask it about your latest sales figures or your internal project docs, you get nothing. It has no clue what you're talking about. And look, that's not a bug. It's a feature. It's by design. But it perfectly highlights the fundamental problem that we need to solve.
And this is what we're going to call the generalist AI problem. See, these amazing models, they're trained on this massive public ocean of data that is the internet. They know about Shakespeare, they can write you a sonnet, they know about the Roman Empire, but they are completely 100% walled off from any private, proprietary, or even just real-time information. And that right there is the heart of it. They have this incredible general knowledge, but they have zero specific context for what you actually need. So to make them useful, we have to bridge that gap. We've got to introduce our brilliant new apprentice to our world. And the very first step in their training is to give them a library.
Okay, so this is our first big technique. Instead of trying to, reteach the AI everything from the ground up, we do something much simpler. We just give it access to a curated collection of documents, a specialized library that has all the info it needs for the job.
Now, the fancy technical term for this is Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. And honestly, it's a beautifully simple idea. You're not actually changing the AI's brain, you're just giving it a library card and teaching it, hey, before you answer, go look it up in here first.
And the process itself? Super logical. It all starts with a query. That's you asking a question, like, what were our hottest products last quarter? The system then goes and retrieves the relevant sales reports from your private database. And finally, the AI uses that specific information to generate a really informed answer. It's basically an open book exam for the AI every single time. Now, this library isn't just any old bookshelf. The information is stored in a really special kind of database called a vector database. And it's so clever because it doesn't just scan for keywords, it actually understands the meaning behind the words. So if you search for top performing employee, it's smart enough to also find documents that talk about a star team member or the quarterly award winner. It gets the concepts, not just the text, which makes the results way, way more relevant. And the great news is, developers have tons of options here. You've got flexible open source choices like ChromaDB or super easy to use managed services like Pinecone. The tools are definitely there. But what if your apprentice doesn't just need to know things? What if they need to learn a whole new skill? Well, that requires a totally different kind of training.
Right, because sometimes you don't just want your apprentice to look things up in a book. You need to fundamentally teach them a new skill, or a new style of talking, or just a new way of thinking. This is where we go from giving them a library to basically sending them to grad school. And the difference here is crystal clear. RAG, like we said, is that open book exam. All the knowledge is external. Fine-tuning, though, that's like studying to become a true expert. You're actually going in and updating the model's internal wiring. You are permanently changing its brain to embed a new skill right into its core. So when would you actually do this? You'd fine-tune an AI to adopt a really specific style, like your company's official brand voice, or to teach it a specialized vocabulary, like all the jargon in medicine or law. Think of it this way. Giving a doctor a medical textbook, that's RAG. Sending them through a grueling surgical residency to become a heart surgeon, that's fine-tuning. Okay, this is awesome. Our apprentice now has access to our private library, and they've even been fine-tuned with some expert skills. So what's next? Well, now it's time to let them actually do stuff. It's time to give them tools so they can interact with the real world. And this brings us to the really exciting concept of an AI agent. Think of this as giving your apprentice a goal, a toolbox, and then just the autonomy to figure out how to get it done. The AI model is the brain, the reasoning engine that plans out the steps and decides which tool to use, whether that's a calculator, a code interpreter, or your company's own internal APIs. So how does it think? Well, a lot of these agents use a framework called REACT, which is short for reasoning and acting. And it's this continuous loop.
The AI has a thought, like, okay, I need to figure out the current weather in Paris. It then takes an action, like choosing the Weather API tool. It gets a result back, that's the observation, and it uses that new info to form its next thought. It just keeps repeating this cycle over and over until the job is done. So we've come a long way. We gave our apprentice a library, we send them to school to get some new skills, we even gave them a toolbox to do their job. But this brings us to the final and maybe most critical question of all. How in the world do we know if they're actually any good? I mean, think about it. Evaluating this kind of AI is really, really tricky. It's not like old school software where an answer is just right or wrong. The answers these things give are nuanced, they're creative, they're complex. You can't just run a simple pass-fail test. So, how do you do it?
And here's where things get a little wild. One of the most cutting-edge ways to evaluate a large language model is to use another large language model. Yep, you basically create an AI judge whose entire job is to score the performance of your AI apprentice. It's kind of mind-blowing. And this isn't some sci-fi theory. This is a real-deal prompt that's used to instruct a judge AI. You give it super clear, detailed criteria, just like this one. Score this translation from 0 to 100 for perfect meaning and grammar, and it gives you back this nuanced, almost human-like evaluation. We are literally using AI to grade AI. So let's just pull all this together. The whole paradigm is shifting right under our feet. We're moving away from the old idea of trying to build one giant AI brain from scratch. Instead, we're all becoming trainers. We're giving our AIs libraries with RAG, we're teaching them specialized skills with fine-tuning, and we're giving them tools to act as agents. We're learning how to train AI apprentices, not just build AI brains.
We've got the whole framework now, right? Provide knowledge, teach skills, give them tools, and then grade their performance. The possibilities are, well, they're becoming pretty much endless. So the only real question left is, what are you going to teach them first?